Welcome back into Exit 99 Sports. As always, my name is Caleb Deloach. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, head coach Ryan Nesbitt of the Jackson Indians. Coach, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So we're getting geared up for football season. At time of recording, we're just a little over about a week and a half exactly away from the season started. I'm sure you're
9 days.
You're at the point where you are ready to get out there, get the live action going.
Absolutely. Guys we've been at it for a little bit. They're tired of hitting each other, and we're just kind of ready to see what it looks like.
So yep, you're going into year 3 now at Jackson. I got you at 19-5, back-to-back district championships, quarterfinal appearances here at Jackson. Coach, it's been successful start so far in the first couple of years. Feels like things have been trending in the pretty good direction so far.
Sure. It's been Jackson's a special place to coach for sure. So it's been a great start. Wonderful community. Have really embraced both, not just me, but my wife as well, and the family, and it's been a great transition. So we've enjoyed living in the community.
Yeah, and I know, I can tell just from keeping up with you online, things like that. I know family and is a big important part of your life, obviously, and talk about your past a little bit. I know football, coaching, all that has been probably been something that has been a part of your life since the day you got home from the hospital, I have to assume.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. I've wanted to coach since I was as long as I can remember. And I've joked often that I'm in the family business. Obviously, older brother's now the head football coach at Truman State. My dad, longtime football coach and still going. He's now coaching his oldest grandson at Kirksville High. But my aunt, his sister, longtime girls basketball coach over in Kansas. Her daughter's longtime volleyball coach over in Kansas. Both very successful. So yeah, it's in the blood.
Definitely the family business at this point. So you grew up playing multiple sports, right? You went to Hickman High School. What was that experience like? What all did you do growing up in sports?
Well, for me, as a young kid, my favorite sport was whatever's in season. I did them all. Played football, baseball, basketball. Even played soccer. As a young kid, but played basketball through my freshman year, and then just focused on football and baseball the last 3 years of high school. And loved both sports. And senior year was fairly magical as far as high school seasons go. And, 39-3 and 2 state championships in 2 different sports. And, that's special.
Yeah, not bad. I saw those shows making their commemorative 20-year post of state champions, and as they went through each sports season, got to see a couple of throwback photos before the beard, but a little bit of glory days there.
I got a few jokes of people asking if I was the manager in the back, but that's all right.
And so you played football in college, right? You had a couple of different stops though.
Yep.
Where all did that take you?
Started off for a year and a half. I went to Central Methodist in Fayette, and that's where my mom's from. So
okay,
got family in the Fayette area, and then Dad came over my sophomore year. That's when he had retired from high school and got into the coaching level. So my sophomore year at Central Methodist, he was the defense coordinator, and then he got offered the job in Warrensburg as the defensive coordinator, and I followed there as a walk-on, and ended up playing quite a bit over the next 2 years, and it was a really, really neat experience for me competitively.
Yeah, and there too, like you said, you had your dad was on staff. Wasn't your brother was on staff, like a GA role, stuff like that too, early on as well?
He was a graduate assistant, DB's coach.
Yeah.
Dad was a defense coordinator, and Coach Fritz was kind of my personal coach.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So, like you said, coaching in the blood. So I don't know, what was your exact journey? So I graduated from Central Missouri, and then where did you go into coaching-wise after that?
So I never redshirted and switched majors. I was actually a business education major to start. So my 5th year in college, so when I got my first start coaching, I coached at Higginsville High School, Lafayette County.
Okay.
Coached football in the fall, and then coached wrestling. Even though I never wrestled, but $2,800 to a
there you
college
go. Yeah,
student, I'll be a wrestling dummy for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of coaches that get in doing sports they're not used to, where it's like, hey, we don't have a girls JV basketball coach. What do you think? Oh, yes, sure.
I don't know if I said a word for the first month, but it was just trying to learn, and but it was a good experience. And then after that, I got my first teaching job at Bowling Green High School, just north of Troy, actually, and was there for 1 year. Taught business and was a volunteer football coach. And we lost to Ezekiel Elliott, John Burroughs.
A lot of people did.
State semifinal.
I got to watch him run the 100 meters I was also in the race, but I was far enough behind it. I also got to watch him run quite a bit of the race as well.
They, he was just a freshman that year, so his best was certainly yet to come. But then I had the opportunity to go back home and taught for 3 years at Hickman High School. Taught PE and was a defense coordinator there, my high school alma mater. And then obviously got an opportunity to be a head football coach in Troy. I was there for 9. Ultimately came here.
Yeah. So taking the Troy job, that was a slow climb up to you guys, really succeeding. I know you had a couple rough years there. I think a couple wins here and there. What was that journey like, really taking over a program, no offense, from the basement basically, and then taking them up to a point where, they had never been before?
Yeah, and it was. When I got there in 2014, they hadn't had a winning season since 1992, and they'd had more 0-10 years than winning seasons in school history.
Yes.
And I quickly added one my first year. And honestly, it's one of those things that the longer you do it in coaching, there's parts of your journey and your story that you look back and reflect. And God certainly had His hand on my life, and it's exactly what I needed for my growth and development as a coach and as a teacher, communicator at Hickman. I was really blessed. I'm coaching Jaden Cox, a
freak of nature
Olympian wrestler, and he's a linebacker, and I'm a young, arrogant, think I'm pretty good play caller on defense. And for me, it was a humbling experience. You had to roll up your sleeves and really attack each day with positivity. But our margin for error from a success standpoint was low when I got there. So over the first 4 years, really where the heavy lifting was, I became a better teacher, a better communicator, just through survival. We were 7-33 our first 4 years there before we really turned the corner and got going. But, when you look back over a 9-year period, the things we were able to accomplish on the back end of it, we had 55 kids on roster, 9 through 12 when we got there that first year, and finished. When I left, there was 155 kids on roster.
Wow.
So we added 100 kids over a 9-year period. And what makes me proud is it's sustained.
Yeah.
It didn't require me. We were able to put systems in place that facilitate long-term success, and you can see that in their program numbers now and consistent success. And so a lot of great kids, a lot of great memories. It was a great place to get my first opportunity. I'm incredibly thankful for the Troy community, Troy administration. I was a 26-year-old that had no business being a head football coach, but they could see something in me that, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Yeah. And like you said, it worked out. You guys, I know, won a district championship there, won 10 games there as well, had some very, very successful seasons. But like you said, you eventually are now here at Jackson. So what was that? What was that, like? How did that whole process go down for you on this side, like this end of it? It was not coached, south of Jeff City before. So what was the whole process for you like?
Obviously, it was a really, really hard decision.
Yeah.
When you've been somewhere for 9 years, you're comfortable. I don't think there's many people that change is easy.
Yeah.
But there's also very, very few times that you have opportunities to coach at a school that's historically a top 10 wins, state of Missouri, that has the tradition, the alumni support, the community support. Football's important here. Athletics are important in this community,
right?
Not just football. So, it was a humbling opportunity, experience. One we're very thankful for to be here.
Yeah. So did you have some pre-existing knowledge of kind of Jackson football beforehand? What all was that you knew of? Maybe before you even did the interview process or anything like that?
Well, the first one, just being a coach's kid, I was an avid learner of mascots and high school sports and just tracking stats. My brother and I probably have 60, 70 notebooks still my mom's kept of just made up stats of games, pitchers, ERAs, to you name it.
Yeah.
From backyard, just he and I, and Mario Whitney is the first. When he ran for 400.
I'll say that's quite a few stats there to keep up with on that guy.
So that's the first time I was ever familiar with Jackson. And then Coach Travis Wilson was my receivers coach as a sophomore in high school, and one of my favorite coaches that I ever had. And obviously a Jackson alum, and then when I was at Troy, our first 7 years there, we ran the flex bone. We were an option offense, and as our talent, shifted, we had some opportunities to look at doing some things differently offensively. I wanted to get with one of the better offensive coaches in Missouri, and Coach Eckley was it. So I'd met with him at Jackson several times when I was at Troy on just developing quarterbacks and spread offense. So, yeah,
it's pretty cool. Okay, I didn't know all that, so that's neat. So you take over Jackson, and then, like I said earlier, you started at a program that hadn't had a lot of winning in Troy. What is that mindset shift, or what does that change like when you do take over a program? Like you said, Brent Eckley won a state title 2020. You come in just a couple years later after that. What is that? How different is that, taking over from somewhere that, expects success versus winning is exciting football?
Yeah. There's certainly an element of pressure. A lot of it just pressure you put on yourself. But there's also, growing up being a coach's kid, very familiar with being under the microscope, so to speak, and so familiar with high expectation. Grew up in a high expectation program at Hickman High School. When I was coming through as an athlete, they'd been ranked 10 out of the last 12 years on the final state poll, and so we were accustomed to having success. So obviously I'm familiar with being a part of successful programs, both my high school and collegiate, and then obviously getting an opportunity to coach in Troy. But over the journey in Troy, a lot of that learning growth for me prepared me for a job like this, particularly those early years. You shape who you are and your big picture, kind of your coaching philosophies and those types of things.
Probably helps you learn to keep a more even keel. Don't get too high, don't get too low in those situations.
Yep.
So now, like I said, going into year 3, do you feel like you're getting settled into, like you already mentioned in the very start, the community, all things like that, but also, like this being your program, these kids that are seniors, I think we're going into their sophomore year when you took over then. So feeling very settled in, like, hey, this is what we've got, what we want. We've got what we implemented, mentality wise in our DNA, culture, all those things people like to say. You feel like that's pretty established at this point?
Absolutely. We've certainly been able to have our own unique thumbprint on it, if you will, and whether it be culturally, weight room, just program in general. So, yes, sir.
Yeah. So getting into some more of the football here. This past season, you guys go 9-3. I mentioned earlier you won the Class 6 District 1 championship. First 2 years for Jackson in Class 6. When you arrive, back-to-back district championships. Get knocked out by Kirkwood in the quarterfinals, 45-35 up there. How do you just, I guess, big picture, look at this past season from a, expectations, success standpoint for you?
Even for me, going into my 12th year as a head football coach, you're still learning, and probably always will be, and I think the good ones continue to do that. And last year was a significant learning moment for me. The first year, you're excited. I'm the head football coach at Jackson.
Right.
You're coming in, it's nostalgic. You're trying not to screw it up, trying not to get ran out of town and all those types of things. And then we have a really good run, end up competing with a very talented CBC team.
Yep.
And a few things go differently, as your type of mindset. And so for me, that first year, it was just process, and true joy and reverence for where I'm at. And year 2, I probably put too much emphasis and focus on outcomes and getting back to those matchups and trying to prepare kids for quarterfinal and those types of conversations, and lost a little bit of just that year one, which was just simply it's not cliche, and you could see that if you come visit our program for 15 seconds, then it's lived out, it's actionable. We're just trying to be a little bit better every single day. So kind of getting back to that, and so learned a lot through last season. Last season was a good year. Had some really, really good kids. Losing a lot, it'd be tough to replace some kids, but for me as a leader, it was a learning lesson.
Yeah, and you said there were some lessons to be learned, especially early in the season. You guys played a very, very tough out-of-conference schedule this past year. I mean, even the teams that you beat, Cahokia was very, very good season. Festus went to the state championship game. But you took some tough losses early in the season, like you said, learning experiences, playing teams that you're going to see a lot of guys playing on Saturdays this year, Cardinal Ritter, yep. Edwardsville. What was it like, especially for, like you said, these kids, a lot of them have played pretty consistently winning football, getting beat like that, had to have had a little bit of an impact on them.
Sure. And I think part of it too is, when you put too much emphasis on outcomes,
mm-hmm.
You're setting yourself up for failure. And so for us getting back to, separating identity from performance and all the things we talk about behind closed doors. But, I was proud of our kids' resiliency, and it was a tough, even getting out of that, the 1 and 2, it took a little bit for us to find ourselves, and really things kind of clicked at that Festus week, and, kind of turned the corner, and proud of our guys for holding together, and it ended up being playing our best football at the end of the year, which is ultimately always what you want competitively. Right. So, we learned a lot, and it was tough in the moment.
Yeah, and you said you had some very talented individuals, some that are going to be graduating. One of those I want to highlight from this past season, Kai Crow on the offensive side, phenomenal. I mean, did a lot of things for you guys. Obviously, a great receiver. Throughout his career, had another big season this past year. You guys did more stuff, handing him the ball. I remember in the Cardinal Ritter game, there was some, let's put him back at safety moments here. Had an interception, I think, in that game. How big of an impact just on the whole, and one of the best kickers in the state, automatic touchback kid, perfect on field goals, all that. What was it like having, a player like that and his, impact on the team, stuff like that?
Yeah. We know it going in. When you have kids like that, you're glad and thankful that you have them while you have them. And we can't replace who he was or what he did. Each team's unique. Each team's different.
Yeah.
You got kids that grow and develop and take on different roles. But, Kai was certainly a guy that we designed a lot of our offense around and through him and
mm-hmm.
and try to take advantage of what he brought to the table athletically and but the biggest thing for him honestly is the kicking.
Yeah.
He was, I don't want to embellish, but 55-60% touchbacks.
Yeah.
On his career in 2 years, and obviously over 2,000 yards receiving, and ran the football for us as well. So really talented kid, great competitor, elite competitor, and excited to see what he does on Saturdays.
Yeah, and up at a familiar place up there in Truman State as well.
Absolutely. Go Dogs.
Got to get that in there.
No doubt.
And then one other thing last season that I wanted to bring up was, you after first couple of weeks, you did move guys over to the defensive side of the ball from the offensive line, and obviously had a very, very big impact. I felt like on the season, it was Lindsley Keller and then Bryson Wessel, who playing the defensive line seems to be going pretty well for him as well.
Sure.
So what was that decision like? And then, obviously the difference that it made on your defensive line.
Yeah. We were young.
Right.
We had 5 sophomores that were playing on the defensive line and doing a nice job. And it wasn't like there was anything that they weren't doing or giving. Just physically takes time. And so just utilizing some guys that were physically more developed.
Especially when you get thrown into the fire against some of those teams you played the first few weeks.
Absolutely. And there's things that we could have done differently in hindsight, but sometimes you don't learn that until after the fact when things are a little bit more calm. So, but those guys came over and did a nice job, and the sophomores continue to grow and play. But it just took a little bit of the pressure off of them from performance, and kind of helped stabilize our defense.
Yeah. So now coming into this year 3, you have, I guess you can start with the place most people start. Drew Parsons, his second year as full-time starter at quarterback. Last year was year 1 for him. I know people had high expectations going into last year, just kind of how he played when Adrian went down, when Drew was just a sophomore. But, where do you think he's at? A lot of growth, obviously, that he's gone through. Very, very good athlete himself, going to be a college baseball player. So what do you think about Drew heading into this year?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously a very gifted and talented young man. He's got elite arm talent. You see that with could be a college pitcher and consistently throwing low 90s this summer. But his lower half, he's a 4.5 40 kid electronically, so he can go. There's not many kids that can actually say they run 4.5.
Yeah.
We've got 2 of them.
That doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and so he's a really good athlete with his lower half. I think for him, managing expectations, and that's something I could have helped. I wish I would have helped for him as a young man of just early in the year pressing. Like we talked about, you can't throw for 300 on your first pass attempt.
Right.
And, just settling and just playing the position and doing the job. And so for this year, you can see it, just his growth. I think every quarterback that plays, experience is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always that moment of time where the game just starts to slow down and they can really see things. And so his growth mentally, playing the position of quarterback and understanding each snap takes on its own life form and in terms of decision making, and is doing a really nice job, and I'm proud of him and his growth.
Yeah. And then just moving, down position groups at running back, you have, you walked in, you had a freshman inserted into the starting lineup your first year here, Jalen Hampton, phenomenal first couple years. This past year, Zach Crump really developed into, a beast in the short yardage. I think 17 or more, 18, something like that, touchdowns on the season. You're going to be losing Crump. So, what does that transition look like, moving away from a stereotypical thunder lightning type of backfield you guys had?
Yeah, Zach did a great job, and man, he was a powerful kid, and you could see that in his weight room development. Jalen is a special player, special kid, and I think it's tough. We had conversations, and this is not like it's a secret between he and I, but that freshman year, you're just excited to play. I've had just a handful over the years that have played as freshmen, and he's one of them. But obviously, what he did that first year was not common. And when you're a young kid and you're hearing he's his freshman chance, it's hard to continue to learn how to keep pushing and developing. And it's not like he didn't. But even in his own words, I think last year was not what he envisioned for himself competitively. So he's had a tremendous offseason. He's ran track. His strength numbers have gone through the roof, and he's a great kid. And it's all areas of his game. It's not just running the football. Back anybody's a running back that's any good. That's something that they can do.
Right.
That's nothing that we're teaching. But it's his ability to catch the football and be a weapon out of the backfield, utilize him out in space there. His ability to protect, both run blocking, pass blocking. He's taken great pride in developing in those phases as well. So, and you're even seeing some kicking game. So excited for what he's done. And, we feel good about our backfield. You've got sophomore Memphis Maddox.
Some more speed.
Absolutely. He's a home run hitter and can go the distance every time he touches it, but he's also a physical back as well. And then Gage Parker, another sophomore, who's going to be a little bit more like Crump. I mean, he's a downhill
run through people's face type kid.
He's a throwback Jackson back, just downhill. He's fun to watch. He's made life tough for our varsity defense, and you'll see him as well. And then Brock Reagan has been dual training a little bit as well, because he's pretty good with the ball in his hands too.
Yeah.
So, we feel like we've got guys that can carry the ball.
Yeah. And then, one of the bigger question marks, we mentioned, Kai is graduating. What is, who's going to step up there at wide receiving core? You said, you can't, it's never going to be a 1-for-1 trade-off when a kid graduates. But I feel like you guys had a pretty good, younger core of guys that, especially as the season went on, were really playing pretty well, especially the back end of the year.
Yep. Right now, we feel like that room is above average. I don't know if there's a clear-cut number one target like Kai from a year ago. We feel really good just about the position group. You got senior Camden Brockmeyer, who's really blossoming. He's had a great camp. IQ is he's been very, very competitive in meetings and doing a nice job. And obviously 6'4", 200 pounds. That doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, it's great size in high school at wide receiver.
Yeah, but he's worked really, really hard, and you're seeing that really take off. So excited for him, his growth. You got juniors that are returning and Evan Turley and Jory Toma. And both of those guys are very, very talented kids, and each bring a little slightly different thing to the table. And then you got a kid by the name of Blaine Reagan, who has played 2 years for us at corner. Another one who started as a freshman, has had an unbelievable 2-year run at track, and
unbelievable.
Just continues to push the envelope on developing his speed and his skill set. Just what a great kid. But he's sliding over and dual training as well at receiver, and went from just using him sparingly to very quickly. He's playing receiver for us as well.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like you said, in the 400 meters, the fastest kid in the state of Missouri, so doesn't hurt to maybe get that kid the ball in his hand a little bit.
He was seventh fastest time in Missouri history in the 400. Like 10.700. He's hitting the 4.4s for us electronically. 40. He can go.
Yeah. So my other personal big question mark is on the offensive line, which sounds crazy. Maybe outside looking in, you have maybe the best tackle duo in the state of Missouri. We'll whatever expectations, we'll temper them a little bit there, but. The interior offensive line all graduates from this past season. So do who's going to be stepping up? Who's been kind of proving things to you so far as we're closing in now, just a little over a week away from the season?
Friday's going to be big for us from that standpoint. We still got a lot of guys. That's one thing that we're thankful for. It's a blessing. We've gone into it. We've had 9-10 kids that we feel like can play at a high level from a varsity standpoint. So just getting the right kids in the right spots. But right now, if we were starting today at this exact moment, Gavin Shin, who's played last year as a defensive line as a sophomore, very, very strong young man, is good at dual and play offense and defense, just like Bryson. And so he would be one of our guards. Senior Clayton Ruck, who's another one who's just his commitment over a 4-year process in the weight room has certainly aided him. And he's another 1,000-pound total lift kid for us. And then Grady Boehner, senior at center. And we've got a slew of kids from sophomore Colton Abercrombie to juniors Jace Winston, Nolan Atkinson, Caden Chavez. We've got a slew of guys that are competing, and Friday's Jamboree will be a big evaluation for us.
Yeah. And then, talking about those tackles, not as, maybe not a question mark there, but how have those guys really, built on this past year's success? Obviously now Bryson is committed to Iowa State, and then Braden on the other side getting a lot of bigger and bigger offers every single week. You see him coming in. So how, nice is it having those two guys on each side of the line, and, what's their development been like?
Yeah. I think for any sport, Division I guys, they're often born, not developed. We hope as coaches that we're able to add value to them and their journey. But those are two kids that genetically are blessed, and tremendous frames and big time potential, and both are really, really good humans, and they're fun kids to coach and work very, very hard. So that's a blessing in its own right, is when you have kids that are that talented or receive that type of notoriety, to stay humble, to be great high school teammates, and to not change who they are. That's fun. It's fun to root for those types of kids. So I'd say that'd be the first thing, is just them being good teammates. But they've worked at it in the weight room, and they've worked at it physically on their own, of working on their craft, their trade, and we're excited to have those guys. Yeah.
And then other side of the ball, Bryson Wessel is somebody you mentioned there, and Gavin Shin, they're both going to be going offense and defense. Who else? You mentioned you had a very, very young group there this past season. Those guys got a lot of valuable experience. Like you said, got punched in the mouth early played some very, very big time competition early on. Who all are we expecting to see in the rotation there? You guys still going to be 3-4 primarily?
3-4.
Okay.
Yep. You'll see a lot of guys rotating. We touched on the 2 offensive line that are going to duel, but we've got Cameron Caldwell Jr. You got juniors and Aiden Jones. You've got Keegan Brugerman, Zayden Johnson. I'm sure I'm missing names as I'm sitting here.
So there's a lot because so you guys, you were rotating in 6-7 guys pretty consistently this past year.
Even same with the offensive line. You get into the sophomores and the guys who are knocking on the door. We're deep up front. That's a great place to have depth and quality depth and guys that can play. So you'll see a lot of faces and a lot of guys who are, they're getting off the football. You can see what a year in the weight room has done, and we're to the point where we need to see them do it against somebody else.
Mm-hmm. And then, next level of defense there. The linebackers, Marcus Cutzinger graduates, obviously, but you guys have a lot of experience, at least coming back that I know of, like all the guys that were playing last year. Boyd Langford, obviously, has been a guy just phenomenal in the middle for you guys. Who all are you expecting to be in that, outside-inside combo there for you guys?
Yeah, it took a little bit early in camp of adjusting on the defense side of the ball. You talk to what Kai meant to us as an offense, and you could just say the exact same thing in terms of what Marcus means to us from a defensive standpoint. A lot of times it's leadership, it's vocal ability. He was a quarterback of the defense. His study habits, his ability to look at opponent tendencies and formation and just tell people what they're running before the ball was snapped. So there's a lot that we're missing from him, and those are big shoes to fill. But you got a 2-year returner in Boyd Langford at inside linebacker. You've got Lucas Cox returning as an outside linebacker, wide side of the field, and you got Brett Finley returning as a boundary outside linebacker. So 3 of the 4 are back, and Joe Moore, Dawson Bortner also returning with some experience, but Joe Moore as a junior, outstanding wrestler, is playing at a high level. You got Charlie Eifert, another senior, and then Jonah Taylor, a young sophomore, is a really, really good athlete. So inside linebacker, we've got a slew of kids that can play, and we'll rotate a lot of kids. And outside linebacker, you also see Gage Parker, who I mentioned earlier on offense at running back, and Grant Allspaw, another sophomore, younger brother of Gavin. So those are really good athletes, and those guys will rotate and play. So the ability to keep fresh on both sides of the ball will be a big benefit for us. Yeah,
some of those guys you mentioned, definitely similar how I mentioned with a lot of the team. You were very young going into last season. They felt like things started clicking a lot as the year went on. Like you mentioned, Joe Moore got in the rotation quite a bit back into the season. Lucas Cox started playing really well. It felt like those guys, like you said, the best experience is probably getting in games and playing. So it felt like things really started clicking. They knew where they needed to be. They were, funneling guys where they needed to go, making tackles in open space. Especially, that was something I felt like was a pretty strong suit of you guys there in the back end of the year.
You bet.
Yep. And then on the back end of the defensive back, you do have a couple of pretty big losses. Tyson Ford, probably not what you want, but did a great job tackling a lot for this past year. I think led the team in tackles this past year. I think led the team in interceptions as well. And then Gavin Allspaw, a guy that moved over to defense this past season, got himself a college scholarship. He's on his way up to Wisconsin. Very physical corner out there, good athlete. So you are losing a couple of guys. You do have, you mentioned Blaine Reagan, one of the best all-around athletes in the state of Missouri. Great speed, has been, starting for you since he was a freshman. But what all are we looking at? Who's going to be stepping up, do you think, in the back end?
Yeah, it starts with the 2 Reagan brothers returning. Brock, who Blaine started as a freshman. Brock worked himself into a rotation. He was on two special teams as a freshman, and was actually rotating some with a really talented defense that first year I was here, and broke his leg in that second game, and bounced back, and he had a great sophomore year, played at a high level. So him at free safety and Blaine at boundary corner. You got 2 really good athletes there.
Yeah, whatever they're doing in the the Reagan household, whatever speed training they were doing at the ages of 5 and 6. I need to start implementing some of that, I think.
No doubt. But we've got, that's the fun thing about this job is kids graduate every year. My first year, it's Gavin Gilliams, and you're not sure how you're going to replace him. And Tyson Ford grows and develops and turns into an outstanding football player in his own right, and he already was. And so this year, right now, Aiden Sander, stepping into our boundary safety, has had a great job of just developing strong kid, athletic, runs well, very, very physical tackler. You're also going to see Jory Toma dual training on safety over there. To the corner, you're going to see Nolan Bartles, who was a quarterback that we've moved over. He's got great length, runs well, and has really good ball skills, and a great kid playing corner. You're also going to see Tyler Fisher, Memphis Maddox, two young kids that while they're fighting for time and reps themselves offensively, will be able to utilize their athleticism defensively as well. So we'll rotate a slew of kids, but just trying to get our best athletes on the field.
Yeah, and Fisher, like you said, you want to get your best athletes on the field. You guys had probably the best, backup quarterback in Southeast Missouri as well there in Fisher. He's done well in the times I saw him playing, when he played freshman, played JV, talented kid. It's cool to see him out on the field, see what he can do on the defensive side of the ball.
We're going to utilize him offensively. I mean, he's a very, very talented kid. He's our secret right now, and he won't be one for long. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks in Missouri and would start on just about every single roster out there. But he just happens to be playing behind Drew. And so we'll utilize him on offense. And then defensively, he's still one of our best athletes. And so just getting him on the field, appreciative of him. Just his selfless mindset of being willing to do anything. He's just a kid who wants to play football. So he's been really willing to learn a couple different positions, and that's been a challenge, playing quarterback in our offensive system while also learning multiple defensive positions. That
just speaks to him then, like how the processing ability, things like that will only help whenever he does potentially, ascend to being a starter.
And every kid has their personal doubts that they go through, and just reminding him that, hey, don't forget you're a sophomore. Navigating all of this, and he's been really impressive so far in camp. Yeah,
then we mentioned with Kai graduating, the receiving core takes a hit, but one of the more underrated parts of high school football is being able to play special teams. A lot of teams in Southeast Missouri don't even have kickers or punters, I don't think. So, who are we expecting to step up there in the kicking role, which was a big hole there left by Kai?
Yep. Punter, we return Grant Brown, and he is outstanding. He can turn him over. Does a great job. Long snapper, we're really, really excited. Gage Parker as a sophomore. He could have a home doing just that. He's incredibly accurate, and he shoots it back there. So we've been really pleased with just the operations of snap to kick and those types of things. But from a kicking, we're still evaluating there. Jack Henry Outman doing a really nice job on kickoffs.
Yeah, he got in a couple of games, I remember, last season as well.
And he's continued to work at it, and he's sought out lessons and has really worked at it. And then from a place kicking, he's still locked into competition with Evan Turley, who has not sought out any lessons. He's just an athlete that can kick.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
And so he just knows how to put the ball to the upright. So those guys are still battling for place kicking, but Jack Henry will probably handle our kickoffs.
So we can, a lot of names, a lot of people on the roster there to go through, but now you get to coming up, Cardinal Ritter, week 1 at your place. Obviously, year in and year out, no matter who they lose, we talked about, off camera, their quarterback is now at Illinois, their running backs at Nebraska, their wide receivers at Kentucky, their defensive linemen's here, they got defensive backs at Purdue. Usually talented team, so I expect nothing different this year.
Yeah, no, they're an outstanding football team, and they'll just continue to reload. So for us, we're really, really excited for the competition. We've got our first 3 games. We play 3 of the top 10 teams in 3 different states. So excited for our kids. It's one of those things that when you go to Jackson, you're going to compete against the best.
Yeah.
And iron sharpens iron. We believe in that. We're not scared to play people, and we're not scared to put ourselves in a position to get beat, and think that there'll be a lot of good things that come out of it for us.
Yeah. And you said you're going to be playing, you're playing a team from Louisville this year, coming to Jackson. How did that even get set up for you?
Well, it was one of those things that playing the Cahokia game last year at East St. Louis was a one-year deal. For us, Missouri, Illinois operate on the same scheduling, home and home in terms of cycle, but Kentucky and Tennessee are mid-year cycles. So if we ever wanted to get into a home and home situation with an out-of-state matchup, it was a great opportunity to take advantage of it. Week 2 is a good schedule. So we've got our tight ends coach, Emilio Gonzalez, is from Louisville. So he had some connections through Male High School and ended up getting in contact with Ballard. They're a really good football team. I think preseason ranked 8th and 6A in Kentucky. And so we're excited for that competition when we get there. Those guys will be outstanding football team. Present an opportunity for us to grow, and really what we're looking for in the first 3 weeks. I heard a sermon about a month and a half back that fruitfulness is not on us, faithfulness is. And this is no different. For us, it's truly we've got 3 opportunities out of the gate with our non-conference schedule of learning how to compete in those championship type of ball games. And so it's not necessarily yes, we're competitive. We won't apologize for trying to get to 1-0, and that'll certainly be our goal. But we're also very interested in how we go about the competition and learning from those games for the back half of the season. Yeah,
and so very challenging out of conference schedule, especially early on. You still have Festus on the schedule late as well. That'll be a tough game on the road up there. Have Festus to close out the year. And then this year's SEMO conference, from your overview, I'm sure you scouted all these guys the last several years. What do where's the SEMO conference at right now, in your opinion? Some of these teams, just where they, how do you think they're going to maybe pan out this year? And then also you have a decent coaching addition in the SEMO conference this year as well. Coach Eckley takes the job up there at Farmington, so a little bit more competition there for sure.
Yeah, no, the SEMO conference is always tough, and for us, what we talk about the first 3 weeks from a non-conference standpoint, and then week 4 sitting there with Coach Eckley coming in, and so he's certainly going to have those guys playing at a high level, and so we'll get to conference slate as we get there.
Yeah,
but our conference is always tough, and Bluff will have good athletes and be well coached, and Cape has been on an uptick, and they got the running back coming back. And he's an outstanding football player. The tight end is going to SEMO, so they'll be rolling, coming off I believe back-to-back Final Fours, and then you got Coach May, who's doing a really, really nice job at Sykeston and getting those guys back going. So we expect nothing less out of the SEMO conference of weekly, highly competitive football games.
Yeah, that's what I want. I mentioned before, there was a point in time where it was like, hey, Sykeston beat Cape 28-21, and it was like it wasn't news, it wasn't a surprise. So like I do like when the SEMO conference is as competitive as possible.
Sure.
So I am excited. Coaches that are in place at Cape and at Cape, Coach Gibbs has been there, and he's a Hall of Famer. You got Coach Mannon's in year 2, Coach May's in year 2. I'm excited to see their trajectory there, and then like I said, Coach Eckley, another new coaching addition here. Yeah. So I'm excited to see hopefully the SEMO conference just keep getting better and better, and keep providing more and more, tough tests. Like you said, you need as many tough tests to be ready for those end of year games. If you are, fortunate to get by our, out of our district, you're going to run into the CBCs of the world, the Kirkwoods of the world, with kids going to, multiple Power 5 schools. So absolutely, you do run into a lot of very, very big competition as you get deeper in state. And that's kind of, leads into the, expectations, goals this year. What are you setting forth goals wise for your guys, your team, as you head into the season?
For us, I really don't want to sound cliche. We know we have a talented football team. We know we have a good football team. Just getting into habits that lead ultimately to success. And so right now we're just trying to be a football team that practices well, that prepares at a high level, that takes preparation to the best of our ability. We'll let the games happen. That's why you do it. I can't predict the outcome of what this year is going to look like, but I'll tell you that I don't know what our ceiling is, but we've got a really good football team, and Lord willing, we'll stay injury free, and have an opportunity to be playing our best football at the end of the year.
Yep. Well, Coach, thank you for your time. As always, I'll be calling your games again this year. So I've enjoyed the last couple of seasons on the radio. It's nice to call games for a team that wins quite a bit of games. So I appreciate that as well.
I get that as a Razorback fan.
Yeah, no, I don't get
MIZ.
Friday is my only day of watching teams win games.
For sure.
But yeah, so thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate
you having me.
Yeah, I appreciate all you do. You've been doing, like I said, I'm a Jackson graduate, so I enjoy that as well, getting to see you guys stay successful. So I'll be always rooting for you over here in our corner. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. And if you don't mind, go ahead and, like I said, we're getting into football, so we'll be talking a lot of football coming up, doing weekly shows, talking about recapping games, previewing games. It's always a lot of fun. I always say it. I don't do this for any of you to know who I am. I only do it to get exposure for the people that are putting the kids in the right places, and then those kids that are the ones out there, running, sprints in the summertime whenever it's 100 degrees. I've long past checked out of doing that, so I'm all about giving the shine to them. Those are the people that I want to try to get more and more exposure to. So
absolutely.
So I enjoy it, and so thank you all for watching. Keep liking, keep subscribing. I appreciate it, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next one.